Yes, folks, the Renegade is back. Coming back at you again with another edition, another part in our series on the CDC guidance on returning to school. And where we've been breaking down the article by Madeline Will on edweek.org. And tonight, folks, I want to go ahead and launch in for part 4 into the transportation portion of the article, and specifically, as you know, we're going to be doing a deep dive. So we're back here again. This time we're looking at the deep dive on transportation called managing buses, maybe the hardest part of reopening schools. And I haven't read through this in any great detail in terms of, I just basically skimmed over it. And I want to tonight just go through what we can in the time that we have. Folks, this one, I have a feeling, is going to just completely seal the deal on this train wreck that is the rush to return to school. As a parent, I can tell you now, I am just absolutely disgusted at how all of this is being handled. That we are witnessing what is the reckoning. We are witnessing, folks, the culmination of having generations of people who have suffered from a deterioration in our ability to produce young people with a basic scientific literacy. And if you are on board with the channel and you know what we've talked about and kind of where we're going, you are among the enlightened. You are among those who have come to an intimate understanding of the power of the scientific method, and you know that experts are experts for a reason, and you know how to tell the difference between politics and scientific knowledge, and the scientific method. And folks, just that's kind of the preamble for tonight. I want to launch in here. This part of the article on transportation says buses, period. Of all the complicated puzzles to solve for how to reopen schools safely in the pandemic, just right off the bat, we're opening schools in a pandemic. Transportation may be the most complex, district leaders say. And it goes on to explain that millions of children rely on school buses every day. It's their first and last point of contact for each school day. And the article then breaks into these guidelines, these ideas that they're going to try to employ to somehow make the math work. I don't see how it's going to work, folks. I have very little faith that the reopening of schools is a good idea. I know that's radical, perhaps in some ways, because schools provide a structure that when it's not there, the world simply suffers in ways that, in terms of just how over-leveraged families are, everyone having to have a job, and if you have children, you either have to pay for childcare or depend on that Monday through Friday school day to make it work. And even though we have, record unemployment, just this unbelievable crash, this just ultra depression we've fallen into, this widening gap between this wealth gap between the elite, which is basically the stock market, and the rest of us. It's just absolutely going to be a train wreck, folks. This is all going to get worse. But here it says, for the first heading, excuse me, it says put fewer students on the bus, just right out of the gate. It says to space out students, district leaders will need to purchase or rent more buses, make multiple runs, or stagger route times to align with staggered school schedule, or a combination of all three. Can you imagine, folks, just this absolute mess of a situation that's going to unfold, where you have buses trying to make multiple runs, these staggered arrival times, just this complete breakdown of anything resembling a normal school day. This is unbelievable. It's going to be unbelievably expensive. I won't read this word for word to you, but it basically talks about how fiscally impossible the situation is, and just there's people are that are trying to make this work have to be losing their minds. I mean, I cannot imagine trying to open schools in this situation, and it not just. I would not be surprised if you don't see people snapping under the stress. It says here, keep bus assignments as static as possible. Wow, there's a glaring typo here. I'll try to read this. It says that basically that it's recommended that districts assign drivers to a single bus and a specific route to minimize the number of drivers who use a vehicle. It says districts should also assign students to a single bus. If someone tests positive for COVID-19, the exposure to possible infection is limited to a smaller group, and contact tracing is easier to conduct. Folks, it's right here. They're basically just telling you what's going to happen. This is going to be just... I cannot believe that this is happening. I honestly cannot take this. This is obviously being done, and I don't want to ruin part 5 completely. I'm going to save as much as I can for the finale of the series. I'm basically just going to just go off about how I see all of this happening and why it's happening and maybe what we can do about it. But folks, this is not going to work. We have basically a situation where the people in charge are trying to open schools so that the economy can recover, and elections can be influenced, and it is just absolutely blowing my brains out of my skull watching this happen. I cannot believe that we are at this point. I cannot believe that I'm actually reading an article here from a reputable source, basically telling us that we're going to have people getting infected with this disease that we do not know very much about, and it's obviously going to spread from the schools to the greater communities where these students live, and it is going to result in a lot of people dying that do not need to die. We do not have to open schools. Folks, it is time to light up the phone lines. Now is the time to make your voice heard. I come to you as a recently resigned 7-year veteran high school science teacher, but I also come to you as a parent and just as a citizen of the country, of a community, and I do not stand for this. Regardless of how we deal with it, schools cannot open this fall. It's not feasible. It's not going to happen successfully. So we simply can't do it. It's a no-win situation. We have to find ways to provide for the students that need, for all of the students, and to somehow help them through the next school year, and make learning happen to the best of our abilities, and to meet the needs in terms of even the physical needs that students get from going to school, like food. We can do this. But here, this article just keeps going. It says, getting enough drivers. Before the COVID-19 crisis, more than 90% of school districts reported bus driver shortages. So we already have this crisis level issue. This is just like the HVAC systems we saw in the previous one, here in the previous video of the series, where we have something like 36,000 school buildings in the country that have substandard HVAC systems. And we know that air circulation is a key component of helping reduce the dangers. We're not going to see an overhaul. We're not going to see 36,000 schools get updated HVAC systems, but we can continue to bail out these giant investment firms and just this unbelievable corruption that we see by the elite. But we have to have these schools that are broken down, that already don't pay anyone enough to do the jobs that they're tasked with. We have this massive, just apocalyptic bus driver shortages happening pre-pandemic, and now we're going to have all of these people that are already in such high demand and low supply, just put under exponentially more stress and duties and just the everything that comes with dealing with this disaster that is trying to open schools during a global crisis. I just cannot contemplate. I cannot even figure this one out, folks. I'm blown away. I'll skip some here. I don't want to take too long tonight. But it says here, provide personal protective equipment. Folks, how are we going to do this if we can't even provide that for our hospital systems? This is unbelievable. It says drivers should wear masks and gloves. Many public transit systems have installed plexiglass shields. I can't wait to see the price tag attached to that one around the driver's seat. This is just unbelievable. I cannot believe it. I know sometimes I sound like a broken record, but folks, this is just too much. Districts might want to require students wear masks while riding the bus. It says here, the driver and passengers should have access to hand sanitizer that they can apply when entering and exiting the bus. The buses will also be thoroughly and frequently disinfected. Again, more of this just unnecessary. This is not going to work. It wouldn't surprise me if this folks, this is blowing me away. I'm sorry, but this premature opening of schools doesn't somehow breed and foster the evolution of some superbug that will end up being worse than the current pandemic. I mean, it is possible. We are looking at opening up a huge portion of the human petri dish to a new disease, and the unnecessary use, the overuse and unnecessary use of tons and tons, literally speaking, of antimicrobials. And that is an evolutionary pressure that we're going to put on the microbiome of everyone on Earth, and we honestly could see just horrible consequences come from this. Here it says adequate airflow. Experts say that fresh air and a higher ventilation rate can dilute the presence of the virus. If possible, drivers should open windows and use fans to increase the circulation of outside air. However, it's important to consider potential safety risks associated with open windows, including for students with asthma. I mean, folks, this is not going to work. Can you imagine just windows open and just chaos, folks? This is not going to happen. We get to the famous diagram here in the article, and there's not that much of it left. But this was covered in a previous video, the one where I have basically in the thumbnail I have the alert that we're going to have a massive walkout, a countrywide teacher walkout. That video, the first one looking at this article, we've already established a normal school bus with a 56 passenger capacity. With masks will be reduced down to 28 capacity, which is a 50% reduction, and without masks on, the bus that could carry 56 students, folks, if they can't wear masks, if those are not available, or if people are refusing to wear them or anything like that, the max capacity of the bus will be 7. which is an 88% reduction in capacity. Not realistic, not feasible, not a good idea to try to make this happen right now, folks. But I have a feeling it's going to get even crazier here. It says enforcement of social distancing. Give me just 1 second here, folks. Let me check something. Okay. It says enforcement of social distancing. Officials can place tape on the bus seats to mark where students should sit. Why? Why are we doing this? I cannot take it. I'm not even reading it. I'm looking at the next heading. It says encourage students to find alternative methods of transportation. Let's just open up, folks, and people get there however they damn well can find a way. My God, folks, can you believe that this is actually being pushed on everyone while we see such a huge surge in not only cases but hospitalizations? Death rate is about to go through the roof. As all these young people that have gone out and not taken precautions are right now carrying the disease back to elderly, more vulnerable people, and this is not real. I refuse to believe it. I find myself once again just blown away. It says here, consider alternatives. This is the last one. Consider alternatives for medically vulnerable students. Folks, basically, okay, I'm going to read this. It says that they got input for this article from many different places, many different associations and such. It says the Missouri School Boards Association suggests reserving a specific seat for a student who might be at higher risk for COVID-19. That seat should not be used by any other student during the day, and staff would take special precautions to disinfect it. Vulnerable students, this is not a quote, I'm just processing what I've just read. This is basically saying put vulnerable students on the bus. Okay, just double checking. It says here, alternatively, the school district might choose to transport high-risk students in separate vehicles, or pay parents, or staff, this is not real, or staff members to transport them separately. Folks, I'm done. I am signing off of Earth. I am going to find a spaceship and just blast off into deep space, never to be heard from again. I am not, folks, I can't do that to you. I appreciate all the support people give. This is a small channel. It's still a new channel. It's not a topic that is popular. So if you're one of the few loyal supporters I have so far, thank you. But forgive me, because I am tapped out. I have to focus for the next one, the finale. I'm going to have to go ahead and finish this one up. But folks, just prepare yourself, because the next part of the episode, the next entry into the series, the finale, is going to be me with no filter, just exposing and telling the truth, just truth-telling about these snakes, these demons that are the elite trying to open up schools during this crisis, and how they are hellspawn, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Betsy DeVos doesn't come out and just unzip her human costume and just reveal the lizard that is underneath that. Because, folks, this is the end of society as we know it. If they are allowed to open up schools, we are going to see a horrible situation unfold. We cannot allow this to happen. We cannot allow our children and our elderly and the vulnerable to be sacrificed in the name of the economy. We can do this without opening up schools for a year. We've done it this far, this long. Why couldn't we do it a little longer? It is possible. Light up the phone lines to your lawmakers. Let them know that you are not going to send your children to school. I am not sending my children to school, and I will practice what I preach. And I honestly am just thankful that you're here. Like the video, folks. Become a renegade. Subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.